guys, Terry here for Rev3 Games, and now is the time of year when we all sit down on a couch much like this and meticulously write out our top games of the year. So before I start off with mine, I just want to remind you guys that this is my personal list of picks. This is in no way representative of the entire gaming community. As you guys know, we all have very different tastes here at Rev3 Games. So I'm going to start off with number 5 on my list, which is kind of the dark horse, The Darkness 2. This is probably not on a lot of Game of the Year lists, simply due to the fact that it came out quite early in the year, and I think it got overlooked because of that. But this was easily one of my favorite games of 2012, and being a fan of the first game, which was obviously less than perfect, I was really excited to see the 3 big improvements in The Darkness 2, which were the addition of cell shading, which I think worked really well for the whole supernatural aspect of the storyline. Also the addition of a skill tree, which made the game very RPG-like, and added to the combat, as well as the addition of quad wielding, which is still, I think, one of the coolest things that I've seen in a video game to date. Just being able to like shoot a guy in the foot and then like grab him with your tentacle and then rip his head off. There's no better feeling in the world. So kudos to Digital Extremes for their work on that. I'm so excited to see what happens with the third one. I'm keeping my fingers crossed for that. So moving on to my number 4 pick, Dishonored. This is a pretty popular one. I was so wanting to fall in love with a new IP this year, and I think Dishonored really hit the mark for me. I think it's without a doubt the best new IP of 2012, and it actually reminded me a lot of BioShock in the sense that the world that they created within Dunwall was not only very bright and bold and unique, but at the same time also very dark and creepy and mysterious. And also just the depth of gameplay. I mean, is it a stealth game? Is it an action game? Is it an RPG? Who knows? It's all 3 of them. It stretches itself in so many different directions, and a lot of games try to do that and just fail completely, and Dishonored was one of the few that I think really managed to nail it. So moving on to my number 3 pick, this is going to be Mass Effect 3. It's funny, I was actually last night just rewatching a lot of my reviews preparing for this, and Mass Effect 3 was one of the ones that kept jumping around on my list of top 5 games. And I think technically it is one of the best games of 2012, and it's kind of hard to not have a sour taste in your mouth because of all the controversy that it generated with the ending. But you know what? I'm just going to put it out there. I liked the ending of Mass Effect 3. I liked it. I think it did the series justice. And the whole issue of player choice, I don't think it's really any more relevant in Mass Effect 3 than it is in, say, The Walking Dead. That said, there are a couple things that made me question whether or not I liked Mass Effect 3 better or less than Mass Effect 2. I do think it had a lot more customization in terms of not only how you can play the game, you know, on story mode or in heavy action mode, but also just in like every minute detail of the game. The weapon loadout system, everything was just like polished and perfected to a T, and I think that's really going to be one of the main games that sticks out in 2012 for me, and not just because of the controversy that it generated. So moving on to number 2, my pick is Journey, which I absolutely adored. 2012 was really kind of the year of the indie, I think, and there was a small contingent of games that really contributed to that, one of which was Journey, and followed up by that with The Unfinished Swan and Fez. And I loved all of those games in their own right, but Journey was really the one for me that felt like a complete experience. I knew what they set out to do, and they achieved it in every right. The soundtrack by Austin Wintory is amazing. It ended up winning a Grammy, if you don't believe me. The beauty and just the feelings that you get while playing this game are, I think, kind of the closest to what people have been describing this whole games as art debate that seems to be a common theme in 2012, and Journey was really kind of the tipping point for me there. So moving on to my number 1 pick, like I said, again, I feel like all of these spots could be interchangeable because all these games are just so fantastic, but one game that was easily my most anticipated of 2012 and probably ended up being close, if not my favorite, was Borderlands 2. This game really demonstrated to me what a true sequel should be. It kept all of the original feelings of the first game and just made every aspect of the game better. The humor, which again is part of what made the first game so charming because it did have other problems, the humor was just dialed up to 10, and a big part of that humor for me was the new characters that they introduced with this one. Handsome Jack Tiny Tina, played by Ashley Birch, just absolutely hilarious, balls out characters that I think really contributed and made the game a lot more memorable than other shooters. It's kind of a common thing for me that when I finish a game, especially if I'm reviewing it like Borderlands 2, I kind of want to just set it down for a while and not pick it up for another 6 months or so. But Borderlands 2 is really one of the few games where even after I finished reviewing it right away, I wanted to just pick it up again and start playing. So those are my top 5 games. Like I said, this is completely subjective. So obviously if you like my reviews and you enjoy them, then you might find some similar likes or dislikes in my list. Adam, Anthony, and Max are all doing top 5 lists of their own, so if their reviews and previews resonate with you, then you might want to go check those out as well. And as always, let us know in the comments what your favorite games of 2012 were. Hopefully they match up with some of mine.